History forgets. The Battle of Belleau Wood. As a note, some pronunciations may be wrong. I don't speak French. The Battle of Belleau Wood is significant in Marine Corps history because it spawned its most notable nickname, the Devil Dogs. It was the Germans who gave the Marines this nickname because of their fighting strength. It also spawned some of the most famous quotes in Marine history. During World War I, Germany occupied France. Belleau Wood is located near the Marne River. In March 1918, nearly 50 additional German divisions were sent to France, or the Western Front, after the surrender of the Russians on the Eastern Front. They hoped to defeat the Allies before reinforcements could be sent. The British Fifth Army was virtually destroyed, and German forces had reached the north bank of the Marne River near the end of May 1918. U.S. Army divisions who had joined the Allied effort stopped the Germans' advance. Instead, the Germans turned their advance towards Vaux and Belleau Wood. On June 1st, Vaux fell, and the Germans moved to Belleau Wood. The U.S. 2nd Division, which included a brigade of Marines, was placed at the Paris-Metz highway. The 9th Infantry Regiment was also placed between the highway and the Marne River, while the 6th Marines were put to their left. The 5th Marines and the 23rd Infantry was placed in reserve as reinforcements. In the evening, the Germans punched their way through the French lines, just to the left of the Marines. The troops in reserve marched to plug the gap, which were successfully filled. On June 2nd, German commanders ordered that the troops advance on Marigny and Lucy through Belleau Wood as part of a major offensive move so that other German troops could cross the Marne River. To thwart their advance, the Allies were going to dig trenches. The Marines were told to stand their ground while these trenches could be dug. The Marines dug their own shallow trenches and waited for the Germans to advance. When the Germans did advance on June 3rd, the Marines waited till the Germans were only 100 yards away before opening fire. This effectively mowed down the waves of German troops. Any survivors fled back into the wood. The Germans suffered heavy casualties, and they decided to dig in along a defensive line. Their offensive attack had turned into a bloody defensive stand. As the Allied forces who followed the Germans into the wood retreated, they urged the Marines to turn back with them. Marine Captain Lloyd Williams then uttered the infamous line, "Retreat? Hell, we just got here." Over the next 2 days, the 1st Battalion Marines successfully repelled any German troops who tried to advance across their line. On June 6th, the Allies planned an attack on the Germans, who were themselves planning an attack. 2 companies of the Marine 1st Battalion advanced in waves across an open wheat field, which was continuously swept with the German machine gun fire, effectively cutting down the 5th Marines. This was the attack on Hill 142. On the evening of June 6th, 3rd Battalion 5th Marines and the 3rd Battalion 6th Marines advanced into Belleau Wood as part of a second phase attack. Again, the Marines had to cross the open wheat field against German machine guns. First Sergeant Dan Daly, an infamous Marine icon, uttered these words, "Come on, you sons of... Do you want to live forever?" The first wave of Marines were virtually slaughtered, but the 3rd Battalion's 6th Marines made it to the woods and were engaged in hand-to-hand fighting. The casualties sustained on this day were the highest in Marine Corps history up to this battle. 31 officers and 1,056 Marines were dead. However, the Marines now had their foot in the door in Belleau Wood. The fighting in the wood was now at a deadlock. German attacks were stopped, and the Marines' counterattacks were similarly defeated. On June 9th, the once attractive hunting grounds were reduced to shattered trees after a heavy barrage of Allied troops swept through the woods towards the Germans. Overall, the Marines led attacks into the woods a total of 6 times before the Germans were expelled. They fought off nearly 5 divisions of German troops, often reduced to bayonet fighting or even using their fists in hand-to-hand combat. On June 26, a report was sent out stating quite simply, "Woods now U.S. Marine Corps entirely." This battle was one of the most ferocious and bloodiest battles of World War I. U.S. forces suffered a total of 9,777 injuries. Of these, 1,811 were deaths. Many were buried in the nearby American cemetery. There is no conclusive number of German casualties, although 1,600 Germans were taken prisoner. After the battle, the French renamed the wood Wood of the Marine Brigade. An official German report also states the Marines were vigorous, self-confident, and remarkable marksmen. A U.S. Army general also stated that the deadliest weapon in the world is a Marine and his rifle. The common nickname of the U.S. Marines is Devil Dogs. Although the history is unclear of when or what exactly was said by the Germans, it is generally accepted that the Germans did give the Marines the nickname Tafelhunde. In a loose translation, this comes out, Dogs from Hell. Some believe that the name comes from a diary of a German soldier killed in battle. In his diary, he refers to the Marines as Dogs of the Devil. Others believe that it comes from the attack on Hill 142. After the threat of Germans using mustard gas on them, the Marines donned gas masks. Being June, the heat caused the Marines to sweat heavily, even foam at the mouth, and turn their eyes bloodshot, thus making their faces look like long snouts. The hill was very steep at some parts, causing the Marines to scramble up the hill on all fours. The Germans looking down at the advancing Marines would have seen this spectacle as dogs from hell attacking them. A U.S. Marine Corps Master Sergeant explains it like this. The term devil dogs has its origins at Belleau. It was in a dispatch from the German front lines to their higher headquarters explaining that the battle conditions that describe the fighting abilities of the new, fresh Americans as fighting like Tafelhunde, or hounds from hell. The term devil dogs was almost immediately picked up by the Marines as a term of endearment. Their ferocious, unwavering commitment to fight off the Germans despite heavy casualties has become an iconic image of modern-day Marines. This poster, made in 1918 by an American, shows the term Tafelhunden written on it. Some say because the grammar on this poster is incorrect, the Germans never actually came up with the phrase. However, the poster was made by an American who probably didn't speak German. The correct grammar of this phrase, which is Teufelshunde, isn't that far off from the poster.